I met Natasha in a very strange way, I feel. The gallery has a submissions process for young artists. And in 2018-19, she just submitted her works. So, every year we have this show called On the Threshold of Time, which is where we showcase the work of young and emerging artists. And as soon as I saw the work, as I was reviewing it, I had to stop and think to myself, what's happening here? And I realized very quickly that this is an artist that we in the gallery really need to work with. Primarily because our gallery, which was started in 1977, so almost 50 years old, not by me, I was not very old then. The philosophy of the gallery is really to take risks and really to work with young and emerging artists in a very in a way that really promotes them. And that doesn't mean just doing shows with them. That's the sort of the easy part of running a gallery is you find work you like and you put it up in a show, and at this point we're so used to putting up shows it doesn't take us very long. So that's kind of the easy part. It's really working with an artist through time so that we can do what we can do as a gallery, promote them in terms of taking them to art fairs, and showcasing their work, connecting them to writers, curators, and so on, and senior artists so that they have an opportunity to really grow their practice. But with Natasha, it sort of has become this 5-year conversation that has culminated in this show. And my only sort of thing that I can say about my contribution to this show is the fact that I've been coming to Hillyer now for a couple of years, and I mentioned to Natasha, there's an open call. Maybe you want to apply for it. And she did, but she didn't tell me she applied for it. So she told me when she got it, and I was overjoyed because I thought to myself, great, I don't have to travel anywhere since I live fairly close by, and Natasha is having a show. So my job is just to get the works here, which is easy enough. You just put them in they get put in a crate and then they come here, and I don't know how all of that happens. So that's how we sort of started 5 years ago. Over the last 5 years, we've had Natasha in a couple of group exhibitions. We've taken her to India Art Fair. And more recently in December, we took her to the New Art Dealers Alliance, NADA, Miami, which is a fair where her work was very well received. So it sort of gave us an opportunity to really look at how her work is being received in a Western market, because up until then, it had only been in India. So that's sort of how we came to work together. But it's really wonderful to have her work here because it's quite rare to have a South Asian artist have a solo show in Washington, D.C. And I think that inflection point, the way I think about it, is quite significant. And especially for a young artist. I mean, that just does not happen. So congratulations to you on your first solo. I'm quite upset with Tim, who's the director here, who has done Natasha's first solo, even though we've been representing her for 5 years. So, there's a bone to pick there, but we'll pick that after the talk. Anyway, so with that, I'll just pass it on to you, and maybe you want to say a few things, and then we can begin a more conversation type format.
So I'll just give you a quick introduction about myself. So I'm Natasha, and I've been born and brought up in Delhi, and I've done my education from Delhi itself, and back in 2017 I've done my master's, and since then I've been practicing I've mostly been an artist with few parallel jobs, which is important for an artist to really survive in the initial stage of their careers, which brings me to Art Heritage, which has been like the best support which a young artist would look for, because it's really tough for a women artist doing such bold works, and getting the right kind of people to take you forward is so important. And I see so many of my colleagues and my friends who didn't really get the chance to be with a gallery who can really support them. And I'll just mention a quick incident which happened with Sir. So I think I was really struggling with money in 2022. And I was just telling him that, sir, I'm making smaller works. So he said, you take money from me, buy a big size paper and work on it. So, I mean, I just wanted to bring this incident because that really happens with young artists. Gallery often promotes, artists who have done who have spent quite a lot of time and they know that they're going to be there. With young artists, it's quite uncertain. You never know, like life can take them somewhere else. So that point, I think I would really, like, it had hit me that, there's someone who believes in me, because I really didn't believe in me at that time so much. So thank you to
You're
Art
most
Heritage.
welcome. Thank you for taking that big work and putting something on it so we can show
So
it.
basically it was this size. This was the size of the paper that I got, and it's pretty expensive. So he just said that you take money, I'll give you money, and don't stop your work. I mean, this kind of support you rarely get in an Indian art scenario, which I'm so grateful for. And then thanks to Tim, I mean, I think I was never prepared for a solo, and we've had so many discussions around it because I feel it's a big responsibility. I mean, and I take ages to complete one work because it's a whole lot of layering and all. So he just told me that, you should apply for this. And I thought, really, I mean, I'm not ready. And I did. And I got through it, and like he was the one who really told me about it. And then again, Tim was so supportive throughout, because I had a date which was last year in 2025, and that too early 2025.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't make work so quickly. So we had these conversations going on where he agreed and he gave me a whole lot of time to complete the works. And he's been so supportive. I think he also helped me do this event at the Indian Embassy,
Yes.
which was really, it was a very important step, which was so, I mean, thank you so much. And for me as an Indian artist, doing my first solo here in US, I mean, I never thought that would happen, but it went really well. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, sir.
Sure. Well, I'm feeling very good about myself right now. but other than that,
Buying the paper.
yeah. But I think so. Let's get into the show. And I think before we start talking about Natasha's practice, I'd just like to orient people to this show. The show kind of has three elements. You can think of it as three elements. One is, of course, and the most predominant element is the works on the wall. But then I'll draw your attention to this, what we are calling an installation, which Natasha will talk about. But that's sort of a second element that you can think of the show. And then the third is this project that I really hope everybody contributes to, or if you're comfortable contributing to, and Natasha will explain what that is. But so just to orient you to the show, and I think I mean I can keep talking, and my poor children and wife have to deal with that all the time. So I'll try to keep this to 25 minutes, about 20-25 minutes, and then we'll of course be around if for you all to chat with Natasha. I will have exhausted everything I know about anything by then. But I think where I'd like to start with you is really, rather than looking at the beginning, let's just first look at what's very evident here, which is the title of the show. Okay, and so will this entanglement ever resolve? Question mark.
Yeah.
So if you can just start with maybe what you're thinking in terms of the idea and your practice when you're thinking of this kind of a title for your show, and the fact that it is a question mark.
Yeah.
So if you could start there.
So I think all my works have been like a quest, questions which I have been putting up for myself in my own head, and questions which I have for the society, questions which I have for the women around me, and that too in different age brackets. Like as you see around, that's me in most of my works. Then there are middle-aged women. Then there's a man. Like there are 3 men here. So I think this is like a whole lot of questions which keep coming to me. And so I just thought that, since my works is so much about asking, and I'm putting questions to everybody, why don't I give a title which is a question, where, people come and they feel that, oh, do we need to give an answer to that? I mean, is she asking us that? So, a point where, it kind of gives them some element to think about.
Sure.
And also I think the title is a little, it's entanglement, and I think everything is entangled in a way. It's just that, and I think all our lives we just keep sorting out these entanglements, and so yeah, I mean, I think that's why this title, because like all my works are very raw and unfiltered, I wanted my title to be like that, where I'm really, giving a sense of how the works are. Like, they're not pretty to look at, they really like they're in your face kind of thing. And so I think that's why I thought that this title will really go well.
Sure.
And also I'm asking, will this ever resolve? Because I think these conditionings and these societal norms have been going on forever, and will there ever be a point where we will move out of it?
Yeah.
So that's a question. Nobody has a certain answer. So that's why I just wanted to put out a question for everybody to think.
Sure. Sure. And I think that's a good starting point for now taking a trip back into memory lane, so to speak. And I think what this show does, partly on purpose, partly by happenstance, is it kind of gives your journey and your trajectory a little bit in getting to the latest works, which you'll talk about. So I think maybe we can start with those set of 4 works, which are the earliest in this show. And you can talk to us maybe a little bit, one about the content and maybe how that started your practice, and the second about the scale and the fact that they are the smallest works in this entire exhibition.
So I'll first talk about how it really started.
Sure.
So I'll take you all back to when I was a teenager, and so I was very skinny at that moment, and suddenly, because of this whole hormonal turmoil, I had put on a lot of weight, So I was so sensitive at that time. I really I didn't know how to evaluate beauty at that time. So with all the weight coming on me, I mean, I was bullied, and I was really, not looked upon as someone who's beautiful to look at, in terms of how the girls were looking at me, in terms of the male attention. And I think when you are at that sensitive age, you really need that external factors to validate your appearance. So I just started developing a very unpleasant relationship with my body, and I really had a very I misinterpreted basically the concept of beauty, and I just started thinking to myself that I really need to get off these flabs on my body, because that's not that's not making me more acceptable and more suitable for the society. So I mean, since then all these emotions had been piling up in me until I became an artist, fortunately, and I just found a way to let these emotions flow through me. So there was this one incident I would like to mention with how actually it started. So I just came back from somewhere, and I was looking at myself in the mirror while changing, and there was a brass strap which was broken, and that whole visual where the body looked quite abrupt, and it was a very interesting visual for me, though it's not the best to look at, but I just thought to myself, this looks really interesting, so let me take a picture. I did, and then I thought what to do about it. So I just took this small size of paper, because I had no confidence about what I was doing.
Sure.
Just exploring that what is it really. So that little visual which I created of the same image what I was looking at myself, it gave me a lot of happiness. I mean, that real happiness which you get from creating art, and also the feeling of releasing some kind of baggage. So I thought, really, I mean, so that was the moment when I thought that, and then I connected the dots, went back to my teenage days, and I thought, this is a way of releasing the baggage which I've been carrying on for years now.
Yeah.
So I had different phases of my own body, like when I got to know that I was diagnosed with PCOS. So the doctor told me that, and I still remember that one incident. So my mother took me to a gynecologist who was my mother's doctor. So she was quite old lady, So she was said, "Tumne apne aap ko dekha? You literally look like an auntie." So that was her harsh words.
I think we may need to translate that to English for those non-Hindi speakers, which is, have you seen yourself? You look like an older person.
Older person, yeah. An old lady.
An old lady, yeah.
Yeah. So, I just passed out of school, and I was like, it really hit me, So I still, after so many years, I still remember those exact words.
Sure.
Because they really make a lot of impact on you. So then I have lost weight, then I've again gained weight. So now I'm in a situation where I really know that I'll never have a satisfaction level with my body. That's what it is. And with PCOS, like you can't really help it. It's a lifestyle disorder. So you have to manage your stress and everything. So I think this keeps on going. But with like the beginning of these works were something which gave me a point to think about, and after that, I just started clicking my pictures in different angles. I mean, clicking myself in these different perspectives and in these weird positions was giving me, I was just feeling that, this is what I want to do. And then I made this series, which was, I think, a few months later than when I started this. So this was one top that I had, which had these horizontal lines. And when I was wearing it, because of the flabs on my body, these lines were turning out to be curvy lines. So, that was quite funny to me. And so, again, I started clicking this whole series of, so I gave the title, Why Can't These Lines Be Aligned?
Yeah.
Because I was so obsessed with this idea of losing weight. And later I realized that even if I lose the physical weight, the mental weight is still there.
Sure. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the size?
Yeah. So like I mentioned that I started with this small size because, to be very honest, growing up in an Indian household with two brothers and my dad, it was very strange to me as a person that what am I really doing?
Yeah.
So I used to take a little corner in my house and, so that nobody could really see what I'm doing. So I started with very small scale because I was just exploring the medium and the content basically.
Sure.
So, I mean, and smaller works, they really give you some kind of freedom which bigger works don't give you.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Just when you say that, what do you mean?
I mean, if you're doing a smaller work and even if it goes wrong, you have the chance to go back to a new work. You can just,
oh, I see.
Yeah, you can just, try on to a new work, right? But with bigger works, it's like you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of effort on doing the whole thing. So I didn't really had the confidence, honestly, to go to a very larger scale initially. But as you see, even with these huge works, I mean, I've taken a whole journey of going from this size to then this size, and then on to these sizes. So yeah, I mean, the moment like I was transitioning into being more confident with what I was doing, then, I really moved ahead with the size.
Sure. Yeah, I think, so that's a great starting point. I think if we can then move to these two sets of works, and I think the commonality in them is the use of an object. So if you can talk us through a little bit what you were thinking in this work and what you were thinking in this work in terms of the object, which will then, I think, culminate into this little installation here.
So I think I'll first talk about this series. I've also gotten the same object for, I just got it into the physical space. So basically I was just exploring middle-aged women and how the conversations with my mother was really giving me a point to think about. Like in India, you get really restricted with age, and that's how the conditioning is that, okay, once you reach this age, you have to be more simpler in your choices. Like I often told her that, why don't you wear this bright pink? She was, no, that's not my color, that's for your age. So I was like, what is your age? So, these little conversations, and I've always been very close to my mother. So after I became an artist and, when I started looking at things in a broader perspective, I just thought that, this age factor is really, suppressing them as an individual. And if you look at the work on the left side, so the two hands of the same lady are different, one she has these trimmed nails and the other one is a little glamorous hand. And that's how, Indian women think that. So I asked her, why do you trim this hand? So she said, because I have to do the household chores. So I was like, and one hand is all glamorous. So this is, one point where people, like, it shows that, you have to sacrifice a lot of things because, and not just, in terms of the beauty part, in terms of even, their conditioning and, like they get married quite early and this pressure of getting married and then having kids early. I'm just talking about this generation. Luckily now things are changing and everything. So yeah, I mean, this was, so my reaction to her things and factors about age was to deliberately, make these huge women and putting them into these bright and peppy undergarments, which I think she would not do normally, like
Sure.
women her age. So I thought I can do that. I'm an artist, and I really have the freedom. So I did these works, and if you see, these mirrors this mirror is so tiny in comparison to this huge body.
Sure.
So I was just trying to make a little contrast and see that, how this woman is expecting this tiny mirror to fit her huge body into that little space. So these are all expectations which you have, and that's why I think I got this object, because I think mirror as an object is something, it's not just a way to look at yourself, it is
Sure.
also a self-reflection kind of thing, and also the tendency of human expectations. Like we just have these expectations from everybody around, and same goes with the object. Like when we look at the mirror, we really want it to show us the best.
Right.
We don't want a mirror to show us the bad side. So that's why, and I also put a little bindi on the mirror, because in Indian women, they have this tendency of coming back from somewhere, taking off the bindi and putting it on the mirror. So these are all middle class, how women are. So I just thought it would be interesting to actually recreate that
Sure.
thing here.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe transition to this set of work before we come and talk about the installation portion.
So basically these are like, the common object is the red bangles here. So these, I actually got the real bangles here. So this is called a chuda in Indian culture, which is like which is the set of bangles a newly wedded women wear in her initial years of, like, probably the first year of marriage. So I was just thinking about this concept of a newly wedded woman, which is a very glorifying phase of her life. We really put it on a pedestal, and when I look at it, I was just thinking, when I used to see a woman with chuda, I used to think, how happy she is. She's just traveling around with her husband, and husband carrying the shopping bags and all that. So I thought, that's a really gloomy
Please don't
phase.
give any ideas to my spouse, please.
So like I really misunderstood it
Sure.
as a very gloomy and a very fairy tale kind of effect, like a phase of life. So, but I think when I went through it on my own, I realized that it's not like that. I mean, we really look at it from a distant lens, and when you are in that phase, there are so many layers to it. I mean, if you think it from a girl's perspective, I mean, leaving her own home, leaving her own comfort zone, trying to fit into the bangle, which I'm trying to show here. She's just literally putting her feet somewhere where it doesn't belong. It's supposed to be in the hand.
It's like two things. It's the bangle doesn't go on the foot, and the foot is too big to contort into the bangle. It's almost those two
so
things.
even the title of this work is "This is the least I could shrink," because I think as I had a lot of conversations with women who are middle-aged in their 50s. So they often tell me that we had a bad time when we were newly married.
Okay.
Like there was so much pressure from the in-laws to be a certain way, and just to fit into their household. So they said, who told you that it's the best time? No, it's not. I mean, we really had a struggle dealing with everything, and the sad part is they lose themselves after a point, because they just try to be someone else. So like I said, this is the title, "The Least I Could Shrink." And so yeah, I mean, I was just challenging this idea that it's not as happy as it seems to be. I mean, one really has to dig deeper into these layers, and then you kind of understand what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what's interesting about these three series, which the more I look at them, the more I realize different pieces of it. And I don't know how much of it is intentional and how much of it is happenstance, and it's just going with the flow. Which is, in the earlier work, you're kind of looking at that, you're looking at the subject, right? As you look at these works, you're looking at the subject, and the subject is looking at themselves. And then you have this set of works where the subject is looking back at you. So it's sort of a journey that has happened. But again, I mean, is it just that it came about, or was it something that somewhere in your mind that you kind of knew okay, I want to have these different perspectives?
I think it came naturally also. Like, you know, like whatever was happening personally, it was and I think it does, you know, it comes very naturally into your art. It was just that through art and through my life, you know, I was just connecting the dots, and it really, like, I could have easily not, you know, portrayed this and like made something else, but I just thought that, you know, what's the point of art if I cannot let out my emotions in a very unfiltered way? So yeah, I mean, also I would say that one work led to the other. That's
Right.
how it
Sure.
worked, you know.
Sure.
Like if you see these two works, they are headless figures, because I think I didn't had the confidence to really put out a face out there, and also I wanted people to just, you know, look at and connect with the body. And then slowly when I came to these larger works, I got a little more confident, and I feel that no, I mean, this is something I truly believe in and I should do it. I mean, like if you see my face is all over.
Yeah.
So I think.
But do you, is there a point at which you are filtering? I mean, here I can see that you are filtering.
Yeah.
But now in your more recent work where you
Yeah.
have gained the practice,
Yeah.
so the confidence, sorry, are you as filtered as you were before?
No, I think I'm much more confident, and I think I've realized that how important it is for me as an artist to be very honest with what I'm feeling, because honestly I'm just putting out the contrasting effects. You know, marriage as an institution is supposed to be like a very glorifying, and you know, it's a relationship which is very important, but I'm saying the opposite. So I'm just challenging these notions, and even with these works I think I mean, that's how I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we can see in this little installation here, you've brought these two elements together. I know, you called me up one day and you said, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think?
Yeah.
And my job, which I've learned, is to say, yes, excellent, please, let's do that. But talk to us a little bit about the installation.
So, yeah, I mean, just that, you know, these objects were so much, you know, in my art, that I just thought, you know, what if I actually put them out for the people to, you know, actually have a conversation with? Because I think it's very important to really engage the people with what you are thinking, because that is my perspective, like of what I have been through, or how I look at things. But I think it's different for everybody. So, you know, if you see, I've put these bangles on the floor, and there's a little cracked mirror here in one of these bangles. So I just wanted, you know, people to come and just have a conversation with these bangles. And so there are mirrors in which if you see yourself, maybe you get to know something else. It tells you something, or you want to say something, a little conversation point for others, you know, with the same objects that I am using. So I'm just putting it for them to really.
Yeah, so it's a point of engagement actually. Yeah. I mean, I think you said it when we were installing the work. What was interesting is the video that I saw you taking was actually the works reflecting your works, not just yourself. And I thought I never thought of that as you were doing it. I was thinking, I wish I had known that that's what I should also do. But, you know, I mean, that was an interesting point of interaction as well. So maybe I think as we wrap up, I think if you can talk to us about these larger works, and then we'll come to the project.
So I think these larger works came from the time when I was looking for a guy in an arranged marriage setup in India, which can be really hard. And given the fact that I'm an artist, and an artist's journey is really not easy, as you know. So you really need, like I mentioned in the beginning, you really need the right set of people, the right kind of family support to really, you know, be there in your practice. So, I mean, a life partner is someone who really plays a big role in your life. So I was just going through this whole, and also, you know, in our culture, after you get to a certain age, you're supposed to get married. Like, oh, you're just crossing that limit, and you know, now it's time for you to get married. So I had a lot of emotions going on while I was looking for a guy. And if you look at the work there, so on the underwear it says Miss to Mrs., because I was actually transitioning from a single woman into a married woman. So I think while I was going through the entire phase, I realized that how it has brought up to me, or I think to a lot of women, the need of a man in your life. I mean, it's not that it's wrong. We need companions, we need, you know, people around. But the way it has been put up to you was, I think it was put in a very wrong way. I mean, the moment, you know, a girl is growing, people come, like your own parents tell you that, you know, this is not your own home. You are just a temporary resident. And, you know, so stuff like that. Oh, if you want to do something, so do it once you are married and stuff like that. So, you know, every point of your freedom and the way you want to live your life is connected to this point of getting married or, you know, finding a partner.
It's building up to that. Yeah.
Finding a partner for yourself. So, you know, when I used to meet guys, I had this big checklist of, you know, oh, I'm an artist, will you support me financially, and, you know, will you let me go to residencies? So then I thought to myself that why I have to really take this list with me.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, I'm an artist and it's not like a full-time job, but it's a very serious profession. So I think that's why, like, if you also see these works, so there's a hierarchy which is going on, and it also talks about the patriarchy which is so silently existing in our society, though it's been improving, but I think it's deeply rooted and it still exists. So you see the women on top, and again, that's my self-portrait. So, you know, before I got married, I was just thought that, you know, I would lead this, and if you can see, I mean, that's a point of viewers to see whether I'm trying to kick the lady or I'm trying to get down from both of them. So basically, I was just trying to show the hierarchy, and, you know, I was exploring that, you know, what if I am the one who's leading to everything, and then after transitioning into the phase where you see me wearing these red bangles, and now the man is on the top, which is patriarchy, which, you know, he's trying to dominate, and he's trying to be the person who takes all the valuable decisions. So also I would like to talk a little about this big bold women. So when I was married, I really, you know, because I was in that position, I really used to look at women. So you see, she's a little bolder woman in terms of, you know, she has these tattoos and these bangles and, you know, these nails done. So I was just trying to...
When you say bolder, do you mean confident, or do you mean like, can you explain that a little?
Bold in the sense who are really living their life the way they want to.
On their own terms?
On their own terms.
Okay.
Because I was on the opposite side. Okay. So if you even look at my expressions, I'm anxious and I'm just looking what if someone comes and, you know, put their feet on me, like try to suppress me. And I'm just hiding in front of this bold women, because when I was in that phase, I thought, oh, this could have been my life. So, you know, then there's this man on top who's just trying to dominate. So like these are basically two phases, like the before and the after.
Sure.
So I think that's where I was trying to convey, you know, that how patriarchy is, and sometimes even with that work, the one there, like it's really shown, you know, where on the one side the man is holding the hands as lovers, and on the other hand he's just suppressing her with her leg. So these are the two sides. I mean, with love and everything, you know, people you feel that it's love, but it's not. And also in initial years of marriage, I think girls are usually, you know, so caring and so loving in that phase that they very easily mold into, you know, someone they're not, just to fit into, and, you know, just because they're so much in love and all that. So I think, and that's why I've put on the bangles even in that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I mean, that's pretty intense. But I think I'm just now, before we head to the last, the project space, I think if you can talk to us a little bit about the medium. You're using watercolors. These are all watercolor works. It's a medium that you've been using for a very long time. And so I think two questions around watercolors. One, why watercolors? Two, how do you decide if a work should be monotone versus more colorful? If you can talk us through first why watercolors, and then maybe the color aspect of it.
So I think watercolors as a medium, if you look at it academically, it's more like a transparent and, you know, in a one-go kind of medium, very spontaneous, right? But, you know, when I was learning different mediums, like I just thought to myself that it's such a fluid medium, you know, it's a playful medium. You can just play around it, and then like after trying all the different foods, I decided my favorite one, which was watercolor. And then I had this teacher in my college who really, taught me this layering thing. Like he was just giving a demo, and he was, like we can always build up watercolors, and that kind of stayed with me. So while I was, and if you even look at the difference, the initial works they're very quickly done in terms of the layering. But if you look at these last works, they are much more, they have more depth, they have more flesh-like quality. So I was just building up on this medium. So I was just thinking to myself that, paper and watercolor, they go really well because they both are mediums which are sensitive. I don't like canvas, in the terms of it gives me a lot of rigidness when it comes to the surface. But with paper, I think it's really soft, and that's how the human flesh is. And even with the layering process, I mean, that's what I talk about my work all the time, that it's all about layering. Like even with the bodies which I paint, it's not just one color. I mean, you see so many marks, you see so many different tones on the same body.
Right.
So I mean, these two factors with the medium and the content, they go really well together. So that's why I think and I think it's a never-ending medium. Like, it's a big question for me that when to stop. Because if you look at the depth of that work, it's quite intense. And if you look at the other works, I have stopped quite early. So it's an ongoing thing. Like if I put on more layers, it gets more deeper. So that's why I think this medium really.
It suits you.
It suits me.
Yeah.
Also, it's very meditative and very surprising, I would say. With 1 and 2 layers, what you see, and when you see it in the last layer, it's a surprise with every layer. That this is turning out to be so interesting.
Yeah. When you work, do you work in silence? Do you work in music? Do you work in traffic noises in Delhi?
All the time. I mean, I really need music because honestly, when I work, I have all these thoughts going on around in my head, and with music, it doesn't calm it down, but I have another, like it gives me a way to navigate.
How does time function when you're working? Are you able to keep track of time, or it's just like?
No, I just. It also depends on the mood. Some days are like where I think in the morning that I'll work the entire day. And I just don't feel like, so I just skip it.
Me too.
So I just skip it. But yeah, because it's such an interesting and like the work really responds back. Like I have this habit of taking pictures at every level. So I have with all my works the most diluted layer. And the moment I finish my work, I take a picture. Then the next day. So when I finish the entire work, I go back to the first picture and see the last one, and I see that. Like how beautifully it has, transitioned into the final work. And I think that's the beauty of this medium.
Sure.
That's why I enjoy it so much.
Yeah. And then color versus monotone.
So I think that depends because like in this work, I really wanted the focus to go on the bangle. Sure. That's why, I could have done a black and white bangle, but my point was to really, focus on the bangle. So I think that's why black and white. And I mean, to be honest, as an artist, once you keep on working, you start getting answers back from your work. So also it's more intuitive. Like if I have a visual in mind, I really think about it that I evaluate it somehow and, create like a little visual picture in my head that will black and white look better or will colored look better. But to be honest, nowadays I'm more drawn to black and white because I feel that there's not much happening. With colors, it's like you add so many colors and different layers. But with black and white, I think I'm more inclined to that now. But again...
Is it more of a challenge to work in black and white for you compared to color?
Not really.
Not really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that I've done so much work, I do it with ease.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe we'll switch to this section and then wrap up. But so tell us about the project.
So, basically, it's a project of, cross-cultural exchange of body notions. So I think as Indian women, I and, women around me, we really look up to women outside India and we really, glorify them in terms of, and I think that's true to a lot of extent because on my trip here, I have noticed even when we went to the museum today, I saw a bunch of 50, 60-year-old and they all were, I could see that happiness on their face. And when I go back to my own country and compare it with the 50s and 60s, women are not quite out there, they are more restrictive, and they feel that, oh, we're done now. So that's what I was thinking. And so my point was that we have really looked up to these women from a very distant lens. We really don't know that if they really look like, are they very happy in their own skin, or it's just a misconception. So I did this project, I put up this comment box at India Art Fair where I showed my work.
You showed that work. We
showed
showed
that work, and with this box where I asked all the people who were coming to see the show to actually tell me the real feelings of what they feel about their bodies, and in a anonymous way. They didn't have to reveal their identities, which was, I think, crazy. I mean, the amount of response I got from the people, I was really amazed. And when I read the responses, I was again shocked to see a lot of positive responses. Because I think, again, like I said, that misconception around, that Indian women are okay with their bodies, they're not that happy. Like, some were really, deep, the confessions. And also that came, like, I came to the point that so many people were engaged because it was anonymous, no one really knows the identity, and second, they don't really get a platform to just let it out, so that was one thing which I was observing. And it's the opposite here. I mean, I got these responses from India here, and I kept the same box for the US people, to write what they think, and it's very less as compared to India, which brings me to a point that they are so open to maybe letting their emotions out about their bodies that they don't feel the need to write it. I mean,
sure. I mean,
that was one thing I was looking at. Oh, few people have written the responses, and in India it was like everybody was sitting and just as if they wanted that someone to really listen to them, that this is how it is.
Yeah.
So it's a little a clarification of preconceived notions about how we really think of women outside India and how people here look up to themselves. So I'll be taking these responses back to India for people to really read there. And so that's why I think this was a little project that I was doing.
I would suggest that you also apply to a lot of open calls in Europe and Japan so we can get a global perspective. But anyway, okay, well, thank you. I think that gives us a very broad but specific overview of your work. And I think, Tim, one of the things I was thinking, which I was really taken by, is in this gallery, we have bodies without clothes.
Yeah.
And in the next gallery, you have clothes without bodies. And I really thought that juxtaposition and that decision on Hillyer's part to really, put these two sets of works together, I found really interesting. So thank you for that. I mean, the contrast is really incredible in that sense.
Which brings me to a point that on the opening day, there was a girl and she said me, it's a room of bodies looking at bodies.
Ah.
So that was also
That is also very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll stop there, and certainly, I don't know if there are any questions, any comments, yes, please.
I'm fascinated by your white spaces and the way you craft. They're so daring. Like that guy's face is crafted, and then that slim light in front of his arm. It's very daring, and it doesn't look like it doesn't look like you paint and then you just cut the paper. It looks like
it's deliberate.
Plenty of planning.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about it? The compositions.
So again, I think while I was in that headless phase where I was doing these headless bodies, so I really wanted the focus to be on the self-portrait, which is the women on top, and I really wanted the viewers to only focus on the two bodies and not on their faces, because I think that's how I was balancing the composition, because if I would have done all three faces, it would have been too much. So the idea of the whole point of doing this work would have been lost if I didn't want it to make it very direct. So that's why I just thought that I think only the bodies, because even if you look at it, someone could assume the guy to be a girl. I mean, I haven't really defined anything here, like, so that's why.
And the whiter space on the next one, the larger whiter space on the left, it just does the magic because you're not bang in the middle. So is that something you decide before you start sketching or after?
It's while I'm sketching. So, I just see that, because I think white space has been a very important element in my work. And the other day someone was asking me that, why don't you color it? So I said that I don't feel the need to do it. I mean, the white space has its own role to play. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a very intuitive thing which I have, that, I should leave this much white here and a lesser space here. Also, to be very honest, I'm very bad at making hair. So I try to paint as less hair as possible. Yeah.
You've done a great job.
Yeah. So this is the last works which I've made. So with time I've transitioned into a better hair painter.
Don't give away all the secrets, please. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
So you mentioned as part of your process, you photograph along the way, which I think is fantastic. Have you ever thought about like printing those out and making like a small book for the company that works? Like, I think people would be fascinated to see the transition, the journey of that.
You mean the images?
The photographed images? Yeah. Like a flip book of them almost.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good idea. I'll keep that in mind. But I haven't really thought about it, because that's like my own diary of, like a journal thing, where sometimes I just go back to seeing the first work and then the last work. But I think that will be interesting to really incorporate.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that suggestion. Yeah, Tim.
Natasha, I know you probably haven't digested all of the art and whatever it is you experienced since you've been here. Obviously, you've been to LA, you've been to Las Vegas, and New York. Have you picked up on anything that has inspired you? I know you plan on taking a break.
Yeah.
Have you picked up on anything that you go, I might be able to, I may want to explore that angle as I pursue my work going forward? Any ideas you picked up?
I think I've not seen much art, to be very honest, because I was traveling, but I went to MoMA and I saw a room full of Picasso's work. And while I was standing in the middle, I saw his bodies, two nude women. And I think, to be very honest, I was just stuck with that work and I was so connected to that work. But something which I feel is I really, need to explore more found objects. I mean, that is one thing which I've seen, and I've seen a lot of, like, I was going through a lot of these art shops where I found that, I went to the National Gallery and there was this store downstairs where they had converted, different artists like Monet and, created bangles out of it and, jewelry pieces and like clothes and all that. So I just thought that, that gave me an idea that, found objects really, they have a role. I mean, I really think that, from here on, I would really go deeper into expanding this, because I think it's more relatable in a sense. Like, when someone sees the actual object, they can relate more to it as compared to when it's in the 2D form.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, but with the bangles and the way you have the install there, or the way you both did it so beautifully in your show, it really, recently we went to, wife and I went to Venice, and we went to the Peggy Guggenheim Museum. And when you walk right into the main space, you see this Alexander Calder piece, and you see these modern works around it that, for some reason, like, especially from this angle, it reminds me of that space.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that you're thinking about the 2D and 3D and how it integrates into the overall space and not just as a purely two-dimensional experience. Because you have a modern sensibility for sure.
There was a question. Yeah.
So, when I look at your work, it looks like there are two important themes that jump out at me. One is, of course, the human form, and the other is power and hierarchy. Have you explored other ways of expressing some of these elements?
I think it's an ongoing journey. Like, if you look at those works which I've done in the beginning, they are like single figures. And, over time, like I'm being more direct in terms of expressing my emotions. Like you literally see a man, just holding her hand like lovers and then just suppressing her with the other. So I think it's an ongoing process where I'm just trying to find new ways of say what I mean. Like I think even with this installation, I mean, it's saying a lot to me. Like even when I was making it, like when I was getting it done, I didn't know that it had so much depth in it. Because now when I'm looking at it from this angle, I could see that man who's looking to me. And so I mean, to answer your question, I think I'm just trying out more ways to do that. But I think this work has really given me that starting point to think beyond, these paper and the other mediums.
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges that as a gallerist I have with Natasha is that the works take a long time to make. But what I've come to really appreciate in that is that that slowness allows these ideas to come about. And I think in the last time we showed Natasha's work, other than the art fair, was actually 1 year ago at the art fair. And we haven't done any shows with her. And through that process, through those two iterations, art fair number 1, where it was just the work, art fair number 2, where this project came about, and now this show where this installation has come about. I think your question is amazing because that slowness of the work is allowing, at least, and I might be wrong here, but the slowness of the work seems to be allowing these other ways to channel exactly what you're asking. And not just in an abstract way, but actually in more and more an interactive way. And I think that is becoming very powerful about the work, because it's almost as though the artwork is coming off the walls into the physical space and touching people. I mean, that's how I sort of have started to interpret it. And so I really appreciate the question. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like saying all the things I think, but...
No, I mean, you're right. That even I feel the same.
Say this more. Yes, okay.
No, I think even with this interactive, like this project that I'm doing, this was another way to really, just move out of the paintings and, get the real world experiences. Because I think what I think can be quite different than what people think.
Sure.
And these are all the people I paint are also, I would just like to mention about that the people that you see in my paintings are real people. I mean, they are not professional models. They are people who are around me, which honestly it's a big challenge for me to get them to the point, please can I take your picture? And they were like, why would we do that? But they still do it for me, because I think as a layman, when you are without any layers on, you're very conscious about your body.
Sure.
And that's what I try to capture. I don't want professional models, because in a way they are more confident to pose and all, but real people, I mean, it's a struggle for me to really, I have these preset positions in my mind that, this is how I have to click, and they are like, just do it quickly, the urge to get back with the layers is something which talks a lot about insecurities.
Sure. Any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah.
And because it's watercolor, I bet you can't put it on easel, so you have to flat.
Yeah, a lot of back pain.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
So much of what you talked about was before marriage, and then you have talked about an after.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if you are able or interested in sharing anything about your personal, not so much what happened after marriage, but how has that shaped or changed, or are you still set in what you had seen prior to you getting married?
So it's just been an year, honestly, and I think in this whole year I've started feeling more liberating than I used to feel earlier. But again, this comes with a lot of baggage, because your age, like I'm 33, and I see a lot of women around me having kids And you know, when you just scroll through their Instagram, and these are people who I've done my schooling with, they're literally carrying their kids, and you know, so again, you know, you are so caught up in that circle, you know, that, oh, this is your age where you should probably have kids. I mean, the whole society goes through that phase, and you are the one who's going a step backwards, is honestly a little disturbing sometimes. But then when I compare it with with the life I had, so I feel that I'm in a much better place. And again, it's to be an artist is, you know, it's such a blessing. Like, you really can let your emotions out. So this is one thing. And also I feel it has added a little perspective to my art also. You know, this entire year I was able to make these works, which were a way of releasing my baggage. Yeah.
Well, I think with that now that we've disentangled everything, we'll stop. But again, we're around, and thank you so much for coming. And